Mr. President, this bill has an important aim, and an aim I am sure we all share: to reduce deaths from drug overdoses. It aims to do this by establishing a trial of pill testing at music festivals and other places, to be reviewed 9 months after commencement. It is described as a harm minimisation measure and as a response to the report of the Deputy State Coroner Harriet Graham in 2019, following the inquest into the tragic loss of 6 young lives at New South Wales music festivals. Every death from drugs is a tragedy, but there is no evidence that pill testing will stop one death, and so we are unable to support this bill. Pill testing, for those patrons of music and other festivals who decide to use it, can assist with identifying the presence of contaminants or impurities in drugs which patrons have bought to use. And certainly impurities which have been identified, including glue and paint, can harm. But as the coroner's report clearly states at paragraph 66, quote, "In each of the 6 cases, the drug known as 3,4-methylene dioxymethamphetamine, commonly known as MDMA or ecstasy, was the major causal factor in the drug-related death." And at paragraph 71, prior to the provision of the toxicology results, the court was unaware of the exact cause of each person's death. In each case, it has now been established that the death was caused by MDMA toxicity, not from adulterants or unknown substances. Pill testing, or the detection of impurities or fillers, would not have saved these 6 lives. It would have indicated that the drugs they took were what they thought they were, MDMA, and that it was this unadulterated MDMA which killed them. At paragraphs 312 and following of the same report, the coroner discusses the toxicity levels of MDMA which will lead to overdoses, many of which may be fatal. An acknowledged issue with illicit drugs is that, absent regulation, there is no security of dosage, and the typical recreational dose of MDMA in a capsule or pill may vary. One argument for pill testing is that advice can be given about dosage. However, the evidence heard and accepted by the coroner is that, quote, "There is no specific level of ingestion which can be considered safe. The variables of environment, individual weight, metabolism and biochemistry, without very detailed individual testing and consultation, mean that even levels of MDMA in the blood are not a safe marker of toxicity, and while a general range can be offered, quote, deaths have been reported in the 0.11 to 0.55 milligrams per litre range," end quote. And an acknowledged limitation of the most commonly used method of pill testing, 4AA transform infrared spectrometry, is that it operates on small scrapings and is only as good as the amount of drug tested and the consistency of the active ingredients throughout the pill. This means that it can engender a false sense of security in the safety of the drug. One pill can be tested, but others in the batch can have different compositions or strengths. Or the part of the pill tested may not have the same concentration of active ingredients as the remaining parts of the drug. And as we have already noted, individual consumers can have very different reactions to the same drug, which are only determined after ingestion and not before. A broader study of almost 400 coroners' reports conducted by the Australian National University in 2020 found that 48% of drug-related deaths came from mixing drugs, and 14% from idiosyncratic reactions, and 29% from fatal accidents which would not have occurred had that person not been on drugs. Pill testing would not have stopped one of these deaths. An argument is made in favour of pill testing in that it may lead to harm minimisation. However, the evidence does not appear to support this claim. Dr. Russ Scott, in evidence at the inquest, indicated that, quote, "There is no evidence that pill testing reduces harm, and there is in fact no research from the Netherlands that either front or back of house testing has reduced harms." The United Kingdom introduced pill testing at music festivals, similar to the trial suggested by this legislation, in 2013. According to their Office of National Statistics, the United Kingdom saw a doubling of pill deaths between the introduction of pill testing in 2013 and 2018. That is evidence of harm increase, not harm minimisation. Closer to home, the Australian National University conducted an evaluation of the 2019 ACT pill testing trial. This is the evaluation foreshadowed by Professor Nicole Lee in her evidence at the inquest, but unavailable to the coroner at the time of her report. This ANU evaluation found that, quote, those who received a test result confirming the substance to be what they thought it was were likely to take as much or more than originally intended, end quote. Every death from drugs is a tragedy, but there is no evidence that pill testing will stop one death, and there are concerns that it may induce a false sense of security in the drugs which are being taken. Those young adults who died at the music festivals died from pure drugs. They were not contaminated, so drug testing would have found only MDMA, and that is what killed them. This is a tragedy, but one which would not have been mitigated by the trial suggested by this legislation.